Well, I won't keep everybody waiting too long. So let's go ahead and get started. If you are new here and haven't joined one of our previous webinars, I'm Jamie, and I'm so excited that everybody is here today. We basically started this webinar series in the hopes to help e-commerce brands learn best practices and explore new strategies and concepts. So just a couple of things before we jump into today's webinar. If you haven't had a chance to watch any of our previous webinars, they are all up on our YouTube channel. So be sure to check them out there. Just yesterday, we had Jordan West on from Upgrowth Commerce, and he was chatting about VIP experiences. So be sure to go check out that one, as well as our others up there as well. I will go ahead and send the recorded version of this webinar in an email follow-up tomorrow. And if you do have any questions that come to mind during today's webinar, you can feel free to use the Q&A box we have there, and we can get you those answers to any questions that you may have. Another thing I always like to tell you that if you do have any questions with your No account, or if you're looking to sign up, anything at all, you can always reach out to us at hello@nocommerce.com, and we're happy to assist you there. So today's webinar will be a fun one, a little different, as we do have our very own CEO joining us, Jeremiah Prummer. And basically we have been working really hard these last few months, and there is some exciting things we want to share with you. And so Jeremiah, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you, and you can walk everybody through everything.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Jamie. Really appreciate you hosting and doing all this. That's not just me recording a video. So yeah, anyway, I'm Jeremiah, founder, CEO of No Commerce. We have been working on some really cool stuff. So something that we've been kind of behind the scenes doing over the last more than a year really is templated questions. And so a lot of brands who are working with us are using our question templates. There's a couple of really powerful things with that. One is just the fact that it makes it easy to set up surveys. But what's more interesting is that it actually makes it easier to break down the data and to interpret the data as well. And so we are at a point now where we have enough merchants using these templated questions. We're pulling in more than 1 million responses to 5 specific questions every single month. And so that's enough data where at this point we are now rolling out what we are calling benchmarking. So I'm going to talk through the benchmarking a little bit. I'm also going to talk about audiences and how we have a bunch of new audience templates. There's 21 new audience templates that are going to be helpful for you as well. And a lot of those are based off of those templated questions. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Pull this up. Okay, so got a little bit of a deck here, and we'll just quickly dive in. So on the audiences, and I'll show this to you in just a moment. So we have 21 new audience templates that have been added to our audience template library. Those are going to be templates that are based off of first click, last click, and then what we're calling discovery. So that's basically people who answered this "How did you first hear about us?" question. So if you're using our templated "How did you first hear about us?" question, it's really easy to use these discovery audience templates that have been created. And then the last one is recipient is what we're calling it. We'll be adding additional templates too. But yeah, this recipient template is basically who's receiving the order. So that's for the question, who is this order for? And so I'll kind of walk you through a little bit of what that looks like. So real quick, let's dive in here. So on the audiences, any audiences that you've created can be accessed in the reporting. So here you'll see a bunch of audiences. These discovery ones here are based off of this "How did you first hear about us?" question. We have click ones that are based off of Shopify click data. So if you are using Shopify and we have that click information, we can actually pull that in and we can create first click and last click audiences. I'm not doing too much with this here, but I'll just kind of walk you through a couple of these and show you what it looks like. So here is a survey. This is "How did you first hear about us?" as the question. You'll notice that if I filter to discovery equals meta, it's going to just show you the Facebook or Instagram option. If I go TikTok, it's going to show you TikTok, right? So all of this is here and available. Where this gets really interesting, though, is when we can start to break this down and look at not the question this data came from, but other questions. So one of our favorite questions to ask is, how long did you know about us before making your first purchase? This is going to vary based off of the brand, for one, your advertising strategy as a second thing, but then the brand and product, I should say. So the cost of the product, typically more expensive products take longer, all that good stuff. But where this gets really interesting is this also varies by how somebody found you. So let's just really quickly take a look at a couple of these things. So if we switch this back off to none, you'll see this is, typically the people that are finding you within a week. This is what's going to be showing up in your other attribution platforms. But in the case of this specific brand, about 70% of purchases are happening from people who knew about this brand for more than a week. If we filter down to people who said that they found this brand on TikTok, you'll see it's much longer. In this context, it's about 15% who knew about this brand for less than a week. The majority, or the largest bucket, is 3 to 12 months. So in this context, it takes most customers significantly longer than a week after discovering a brand on TikTok to make their first purchase. Google, on the other hand, completely the opposite. Almost everybody's buying in that first week. Word of mouth is another interesting one. It's kind of all over the place. Definitely a little bit more though in that first week than average. Influencer. Let's see if we have Meta on here. Meta. So yeah, you can see it's going to vary significantly by channel. So that's one type of audience. That's all based off of that. How did you first hear about us question? In a moment, I'll show you how we actually set these up. The other one is click data. So let's actually take a look at, just out of curiosity, people who clicked Google. Or whose last click was Google. So you can see actually these people are very heavily weighted towards the tail end as well. You have basically 12, so 13% in that 1 week bucket, 8% here. So 22% in that first week is what that breaks down to. So definitely a little bit more likely than average to take a longer time to purchase. And if we look at Facebook, also a little bit longer. If we look at Instagram, let's see what that looks like. Also a little bit longer. How about TikTok? Longer. So direct must be a lot shorter. We don't actually have an audience here for direct. So anyway, depending on the amount of data you have, it can be pretty powerful to be able to break that down. Where this really is more interesting, though, is when we start to look at this data on the how did you first hear about us level. So I'll actually toggle on the attribution report here. And you can see we have a variety of different options here. The biggest bucket, though, is this friend, family member, coworker. Then we've got Instagram at 18%, TikTok at 12, influencer at 10, and Facebook at 5. So let's take a look at last click Google and see how this shifts. So you'll see Instagram pops up a little bit, TikTok comes up a little bit, Google comes up a little bit as well. But you'll see most of the people that are finding this brand and have a last click source of Google are still coming from alternate channels. They're not just coming from Google. So what you would typically expect is that that's actually a Google purchase. But when it comes to this, how did you first hear about us question, they're saying that they came from different channels than Google. If we look at, let's take a look at Facebook. Here you can see Facebook and TikTok both pop up quite a bit. So that's interesting. Direct. Here you can see what direct looks like. We've got Instagram. Instagram's actually the #1 channel. So what this tells you is that people who are finding you on Instagram are actually getting tracked a little bit better in the last click data. And then, YouTube's gonna be really low. Okay, so anyway, that's how that works. Let's see about TikTok. TikTok is low as well. Just, hardly anybody gets attributed to a TikTok click. TikTok has a lot more discovery, and that's one of the values of actually looking at this data. So I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is how this works. The best part, though, is that this is all really, really easy to set up. So let's real quick go over here to audiences. You'll see I've created a ton of these audiences already. And so if you want to add audiences to your store, go here to this create new audience. And then we have added templates for everything I was showing you plus more. So we have discovery audiences. So these are all based off of that templated "How did you first hear about us?" question. We have the last click audiences, we have first click audiences, and then we have these recipient audiences as well. The way that it works on any of these templates is that we're going to, I'll just click on Meta, for instance. This is based off of the templated question. So if somebody, if you are using this template, which is attribution first touch, let me just show you. So this is actually the list of all the template questions. There's a lot of them in here. We actually will have a help doc though that outlines the specific ones that are associated to the audiences that we have templates for, as well as the ones that are associated to the benchmarks that I will be showing you in a moment. So this attribution first touch, and then basically if the response is whichever one of these you select. So this, if you have not edited the question responses at all, so if you're using the actual defaults that we have set, then these templates will just work. You don't have to do anything. There are times though, and I'll just show you a couple more. It's like TikTok is this, Google's this, right? These are really easy. They're also customizable. So you don't have to use exactly what the template is. It is a template. It can be changed. So yeah, it looks like I got something in the chat. So let me just take a look at this real quick. Oh, okay, Jamie, it's you. Yeah, so the templates can all be edited. You don't have to stick with what's here. Real quick though, there are going to be times when the template doesn't work because you have changed the question and options. So let's just really quick take a look at that. I'm actually going to go here and search for question answered. And then in this context, I can actually pick a specific question in a specific survey. So I'm going to pick this question, and then I'm going to choose, I don't know, in this case, it doesn't actually show me which one was edited, but whatever your option is. So let's say you said Google instead of Google or other search engine as your option. That's a common thing for people to do. It's not going to populate that data for you, but you can go in and recreate that yourself very easily just by using that question answered attribute. So this is what this looks like. That's the question ones. When it comes to the click audiences, you don't need to do anything with this. So we're looking for last visit, we're looking for first visit, and we're looking for the source that it contains. That's all data that comes out of Shopify. So it's not going to be perfect data. It's not going to be as good as something like a Triple Whale or a Northbeam. But it is going to be pretty good directionally speaking. And so we are actually then able to pull all that data in and then match it up. So these audiences, the click audiences, there's no reason to change these at all. Just pick the one that you want and save it. And then the last item here that I was going to show you is just this other templated question. So this is, who is this purchase for? The template question has these 4 options: myself, significant other, friend or colleague, family member, or relative. If you are using this question, it's pretty likely that you've modified a few of these. So you're just going to want to, again, search for the question in your survey, select your specific options to build these templates, or these exact audiences, but it's going to be pretty easy to do. So that's how that looks. And if I were to save this, I'm not going to because I've already created a bunch of these. Just going to show up here. Then that all is created. One quick note: if you're not seeing the data show up for some reason in your reporting, just go here and save. Again, literally just click the save button, and that will refresh the segment. Depending on when you create it, what time of day, and the queue system that we have, it might need to be requeued, or sorry, not requeued, but basically like skip the queue. So by resaving that, that'll skip that queue and you'll be good to go. So that is audiences. And so there's those 21 new templates in there, along with a handful that already existed. So there's approximately 30 audience templates already. We'll probably be adding another 10 to 20 over the next few months. So keep an eye out for those, and we'll definitely be sharing additional information when those come out. I'll pause real quick. Do you have any questions? Jamie, are we good on questions?
Yeah, for now we're good. If you want to move on
Perfect.
to benchmarks, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so let's just dive back in real quick. So the benchmarks, really excited about this. I already kind of covered a bit of this, but we have over 1 million question responses per month now coming into 5 specific questions. The questions are, how did you first hear about us? What brought you to our site today? Where did you see our ad? How long did you know about us before placing your first purchase? And who is this purchase for? So those are the 5 questions. We have a lot of data on each of those 5 questions. And we are doing our best to pull that data in. Now, here's the reality. A lot of these have been, a lot of the options are edited, right? So, and that's by intent. We want you to be able to edit the options. So what we are doing is we're doing text matching on the responses whenever possible. What that means is that you may have a specific response option that's not showing up in the benchmarks. And so if that is the case, reach out to us. You also have to be asking the right question type. If you are not, then you're not going to be able to see the data. So I'll walk through this in just a moment. And this is very much a beta. So the audiences are that's a feature that's been out for a long time. We've just added a lot to it. But the benchmarking is a beta. It is not going to work for every single person. That's just the reality. And so if you have any issues, reach out to us. It's not that we want it to be broken for you. It's just that it will be for some people until we get to a point where the data is like really finely tuned. So that will come, but realistically, we're going to be in beta on this for a little bit. So let's just dive in real quick and I'll show you the power of this. 1 second. There we go. All right, and also the URL it's not available to everybody at the moment. So if you want this, just ask us and we'll send it to you. So this is what the benchmarks look like. The how did you first hear about us question is pretty well defined. And so this one's working really well. What this is going to do is it's going to populate this data if you're asking that how did you first hear about us template question. If you don't have data, I'll just show this to you real quick. Like here, we don't have data for this. Who is this purchase for? You can click that button. Sorry, dealing with a little bit of a cold. You can click that button. That will take you to the survey builder. But ultimately, you're going to want to probably just add that question to an existing survey. Again, there will be a help doc that you can go to that shows you exactly which questions to add. But it's going to be really easy. You just add the question in. You can customize it if you want to. Obviously, the benchmarking works best if you don't customize it, but it also needs to work for you. So we're doing things like on this, who is this purchase for? We're looking at keywords. So things like brother, sister, basically looking at like family member type things, right? So and we'll be adding additional keywords into those lists. So if you build out your question and you say, hey, I need this to work in a certain way, then we'll be able to support with that. The other limitation here, just to be very clear, this is going to work best for English speaking customers. So if you are, I know we have a good chunk of customers who are not English speaking, or your customers at least are not English speaking. And so your survey data is coming in Spanish or German or Italian or whatever it is. In that context, not all of these are going to work. The how did you first hear about us will work fairly well. We do want to make sure that this is working for your language too. So please let us know what you're seeing in terms of this not working or working, and we'll do our best to make sure that we have this well set up to accommodate every language. It will take some time, but that is coming. So real quick, let's just walk through this. So on this, how did you first hear about us question? We're pulling in the responses to that. So we've got Facebook, Instagram, Google/search. So that's going to include Bing, any of those kinds of channels, Pinterest, TikTok, word of mouth. Other is a bucket that we will continue to try to reduce the number that are in there and match those to other buckets. But there's always going to be some other, right? That's just the reality of even your own surveys, I'm sure. And so, yeah, connected TV, YouTube. So what's really cool about this is, one, you can actually see this data across tens of thousands, if not, yeah, let's call it tens of thousands of responses every day. So like this last 24 hours is tens of thousands of responses that are coming in for this. If you are looking at this data over a month, you're looking at, like, for this question, it's close to 1 million, maybe more than 1 million responses that are coming out of the templated questions. So there's a lot of data here. You can look at things and be like, okay, so Instagram, across the entire ecosystem is 28%. That's really cool. Facebook is 23%. The way that you should be using this is you should be looking at this and saying, okay, how does my account stack up? And what does that mean? In the context of this brand, 4.6% from Facebook could be great. That might be the plan. That might be exactly what you're trying to accomplish. And here you'll see TikTok is almost twice, right? It's 13.7 versus 7.1. And yeah, sorry, just to be very clear, black means it's the global data. So this is the data across all the accounts. Yellow is your accounts data. So the way that this should be used is in you should be looking at what is your goal, what is your strategy, and then looking at how this matches up against that. So this is this question, word of mouth. Oh, this is the last thing I was going to show you. So we have 7-day filter, 30 and 90. So you can go back in time. It will take just a moment to load all this data. A couple of seconds at least. There we go. So here you can look at the last 30 days. So frankly, not that different, although I guess Instagram in this context is lower. So that's a good thing to see. And this is why you might want to look at more than 24 hours of data. Looks like we got a question. Okay, using the benchmarks to adjust brand strategy. Great question. So yeah, in terms of how you use this to adjust strategy, I think it's a matter of what is your goal and what are you seeing here. So let's say that you know that spending on TikTok is effective and you are trying to drive additional revenue on TikTok. If this is your brand, then you're doing a good job of that. You may also look at this and say, okay, there's a missed opportunity here. If the average brand is driving 22% of their revenue from Facebook and we're only driving 5%. It could be that we are missing out on a channel and we just haven't figured out how to optimize it well. And we need to find somebody who can help us optimize that channel. Or it could be that that channel is not an ideal fit. What we see is that basically every platform out there has some customers who are a good fit for a brand, but there are certainly platforms who are going to be a better fit for certain brands, right? A good example of this, we have somebody we work with, and basically all of their customers are 55 plus. They actually are driving revenue from TikTok. They have customers coming in from TikTok purchasing who are 55 plus, but they're also getting younger customers on average from TikTok. So that could potentially be an opportunity. Look at how you might want to manage your messaging, change your messaging to meet that demographic. But yeah, ultimately, like the goal here is to just give you an idea of how you're stacking up. And then there are the other questions too. So some of these, you'll see a little bit of funkiness on this one. Yeah, this is one. We're adding another bucket for Facebook and Instagram because some people combine the two. So that's why we got the negatives here. But you'll see like this is, TikTok ads. For people that said they found this brand from an ad, TikTok is really high, much higher than average. So that's a really good indicator. That means that their ad is actually driving people to purchase. That's not a super common thing where like the ad on TikTok is actually driving the purchase. What brought you to our site today? I think this one should be here. Yeah, so this one has a lot of other, and this is the kind of stuff we're optimizing, right? Like we want to reduce this bucket down to about that 10 to 20% range. But you'll see ad is much higher on average for global than what they're doing. So basically they're driving a lower percentage of their last click from an ad, a lot higher percentage from search. And then the ones that are coming from an ad though are performing really well from TikTok in particular. So that's kind of the way that you might actually like look through the flow of this and try to understand like, okay, TikTok is driving last click purchase. More than likely it's doing a better job than our Facebook or Instagram in this context. Looks like we got another one. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so minimum monthly sales at which would become useful. That is a great question. So yeah, that's slightly unrelated to this, but I would say like in terms of the benchmarking, the audiences, something like benchmarking starts to become valuable at more than 100 responses per month. At about a 50% response rate, you're looking at probably 200 orders. So that's really the range that we're looking for in terms of like where these are going to be useful. Audiences are kind of the same. That depends on how many channels you're driving revenue from. If it's only 2 or 3 that you're driving revenue from, then it's going to be pretty useful at that kind of range. But I will say that it's still useful. What I would do though is if you're under that range, what I would say is sign up for the free version where you get any 3 questions and start asking some questions. Ask a how did you first hear about us question. You could just go with the attribution questions if you wanted to, but it also might be more valuable to start to ask questions around things like, what is it that made you purchase today? Why did you decide to buy? Is there anything that almost stopped you from buying? Trying to get at the motivation that's driving that purchase too. The best value is going to be if you are hundreds of orders per month. And then obviously if you're, we have customers that are 100,000 plus orders a month. At that point, you start to get really insane data. But yeah, you really want to be a few hundred orders a month to actually be on one of our paid plans. Or spending a lot. If you have a really high, that's the other thing I would say. If you have a really high AOV product, sometimes being able to dive a little bit deeper and go deeper on surveys is really valuable. Last question. This one is also getting some work still. How long did you know about us before placing your first purchase? So you can see here, global average, less than a week, less than a day. So we'll be cleaning up a bunch of this and making it more valuable too. So that's basically it for benchmarks. And that's all I really wanted to cover. We'll have a help doc for both benchmarking and the audiences, making sure you understand exactly which questions are driving this. But I think that's just about it. And okay, Jamie, that chat's from you. Yeah, I can hold for just a second if there's any last questions, but otherwise I think we're probably good. And I'll always feel free to reach out to customer support, and we'll be sure to support you in whatever way we possibly can.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremiah, for walking through that. One thing, just to be fully transparent too, do you want to let people know about the pricing for the benchmarking, and then also
yep,
the templated audiences, if that's, what plans that's included in, and
Yeah, great question. So both audiences and benchmarking are going to require the $99 a month plan or higher. So yeah, that's another area where, like, the way that we look at it is if you're spending less than $10,000 a month in advertising dollars, you should probably be on the free version. You don't have either enough revenue or ad spend to really justify paying for our product. If you're in that $10,000 to $100,000 a month range, the $99 plan is usually going to be sufficient. And then we do have a $249 a month plan that unlocks unlimited audiences, unlimited functionality. Everything that we do today is included in that $249 a month plan. And that's really designed for brands that are spending $100,000 a month plus in revenue. So yeah, great question, Jamie. Totally forgot about that. So typically though, the benchmarking is available to everybody right now. Will be available for a little bit, and then we'll be shutting that off and making it only available to people on the $99 a month plan or higher.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And yeah, so if anybody has any questions or wants to see more of this, be sure to reach out to us. But other than that, thank you so much, Jeremiah, for walking us through that. And yeah, check us back next webinar on next Tuesday, October 4th. But I hope everybody has a great day. And yeah, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jamie.